Today we're breaking down The Subtle Art of Not Giving a by Mark Manson. Have you ever noticed the harder you try to be happy, the more anxious you become? Like you're constantly failing at feeling good enough while everyone on Instagram seems to have life figured out? And you're exhausted from caring about everything, but somehow still feel like you're never doing enough? Mark Manson discovered after years of chasing success and positivity that the key to a good life isn't giving more it's giving fewer, but about the right things. In this video, you will learn 7 counterintuitive principles for mental freedom, including why your problems are actually good for you and how accepting your averageness leads to exceptional results. Watch till the end to discover how to stop exhausting yourself trying to be happy and start living authentically, not through toxic positivity, but through carefully choosing what's worth your limited Lesson number 1, the backwards law. This first principle explains why every self-help book you've read has made you feel worse about yourself, starting with a paradox that changes everything. The backwards law. The more you pursue feeling better, the worse you feel. The more you desperately want to be rich, the poorer you feel. The more you want to be attractive, the uglier you feel. The more you chase happiness, the more anxious you become. Think about it. When you're reading about how to be confident, what are you reinforcing? That you're not confident. When you're obsessing about being happier, what are you emphasizing? That you're not happy enough. The pursuit itself reinforces the lack. Manson discovered this through philosopher Alan Watts. Wanting positive experience is itself a negative experience. Accepting negative experience is itself a positive experience. It's completely backwards from what we're taught. Everyone who's telling you to visualize success, manifest abundance, think positive thoughts, they're actually making you more miserable, because constantly reaching for positive is a constant reminder that you're not there yet. The person obsessing about their diet feels fat. The person desperate for a relationship feels lonely. The person chasing wealth feels poor. The wanting creates the feeling of not having. But here's what actually works. Stop trying to feel good all the time. Life is suffering. Problems never end. Pain is inevitable. Once you accept this, you stop adding the secondary suffering of thinking something's wrong when you don't feel amazing. The key isn't to not give a about anything. It's to give a about less. You have limited to give. Spend them wisely. Care about what matters, ignore what doesn't. But most people are giving their away to meaningless things. Every time you give a about something trivial, someone's opinion, a minor inconvenience, looking perfect, you have fewer for what matters, your values, your growth, your real relationships. The solution isn't more, it's less. Not caring more but caring less. Not doing more but doing less. Not wanting more but wanting less. This isn't apathy, it's focus. Which brings us to what's actually worth your limited energy. Lesson number 2, the value of suffering. This truth will liberate you from the happiness trap. Life is essentially an endless series of problems. The solution to one problem just creates the next problem. You're broke, that's a problem. You get money, now you have new problems. Taxes, investment decisions, people wanting handouts. You're alone, that's a problem. You find someone, new problems. Compromise, jealousy, scheduling conflicts. Manson's insight: don't hope for a life without problems. Hope for a life with good problems, because the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your problems. Warren Buffett has problems: which companies to buy, how to invest billions. A homeless person has problems: where to sleep, what to eat. Both have problems. One has better problems. The question isn't, how do I stop suffering? It's, what suffering am I willing to endure? Want a great body? Are you willing to suffer through workouts and dietary restrictions? Want a successful business? Will you endure the 70-hour weeks and risk of failure? Everyone wants the result, but not everyone wants the struggle. You want the six-pack, but not the gym. The money, but not the risk. The relationship, but not the vulnerability. You can't have one without the other. But here's the breakthrough. When you find suffering you're willing to endure, it stops feeling like suffering. The musician practices for hours, not despite the difficulty, but because of it. The entrepreneur works weekends, not as sacrifice, but as investment. Your favorite struggle determines your success. If you love the struggle of physical training, you'll be fit. Love the struggle of learning, you'll be educated. Love the struggle of building, you'll create something meaningful. Most people think they're supposed to find their passion. Wrong. Find your favorite flavor of suffering. What pain are you willing to sustain? That's where your passion lives. Stop asking, what do I want? Start asking, what am I willing to struggle for? Because that's what you'll actually get. Not what you wish for, but what you're willing to suffer for. Which brings us to why problems are features, not bugs. Lesson number 3. Problems never end. This principle destroys the fantasy that's keeping you stuck. The idea that one day you'll arrive and problems will stop. Problems never stop. They just get exchanged or upgraded. The poor person thinks money will solve everything. The rich person discovers money created new problems. The single person thinks a relationship will complete them. The married person discovers relationships require constant work. Manson calls this the problem-solving problem. We think happiness comes from solving problems, but solving problems just creates new problems. It's not a bug in the system, it's the system. Consider evolution. Every solution created new problems. Standing upright solved mobility, but created back problems. Big brains solved survival, but created existential anxiety. Agriculture solved hunger, but created inequality. Problems don't end, they evolve. If problems are constant, then happiness can't come from their absence. Happiness comes from solving problems you enjoy solving. A bad life has bad problems. A good life has good problems. But both have problems. The myth of arrival keeps you miserable. When I graduate, when I get married, when I make 6 figures, when I retire, there's no arriving. Each milestone just presents new challenges. But here's what changes when you accept this. You stop waiting to be happy. If problems never end, waiting for their absence means waiting forever. Instead, you engage with current problems fully, knowing they're not obstacles to life, they are life. You also stop feeling like a failure when new problems arise. Of course they arose. That's what problems do. Your promotion created new responsibilities. Your fitness created new dietary requirements. This isn't failure. It's progress. The question shifts from how do I eliminate problems to what problems do I want? Poor health or gym discipline? Loneliness or relationship work? Dead-end job or entrepreneurial uncertainty? Choose your problems consciously. Master-level living isn't about having no problems. It's about having problems you chose, problems you enjoy solving, problems that align with your values. That's as good as it gets, and that's enough. Which brings us to the truth that will offend you, but free you. Lesson number 4. You're not special. This reality check will free you from impossible expectations. You're not special, and thinking you are is making you miserable. We're raised on exceptionalism. You can be anything. Follow your dreams. You're special. But statistically, you're probably average at most things, and that's not depressing. It's liberating. The problem with believing you're special is that ordinary life feels like failure. If you're meant for greatness, then normal feels like settling. If you're exceptional, then average is unacceptable. You've set a bar you'll never clear. Social media amplifies this. You see the highlight reels of millions, making ordinary feel pathetic. Everyone seems to be achieving more, experiencing more, being more. You feel left behind in your ordinary life. Manson points out that truly exceptional people don't feel exceptional. They're too busy working. Einstein didn't walk around thinking, "I'm a genius." He thought about physics problems. The people who feel most special often accomplish least. The pressure to be special creates paralysis. If everything you do needs to be exceptional, you'll do nothing. Better to not try than to try and be average, right? This is why perfectionism is procrastination in disguise. But here's the paradox. Accepting your averageness is what allows exceptional results. When you stop needing to be special, you can focus on improvement. When you accept ordinary, you can build toward extraordinary. The people who achieve exceptional things didn't start exceptional. They started average and improved through ordinary daily actions. They became exceptional by accepting being average first. You're not special for your problems either. Your trauma isn't unique. Your struggles aren't unprecedented. Your pain isn't more painful. This isn't minimizing your experience. It's connecting you to humanity. When you realize everyone struggles, fails, doubts, and suffers, you stop feeling singled out by the universe. Your problems aren't a curse. They're membership dues for being human. The entitlement epidemic comes from everyone thinking they deserve special treatment. But if everyone's special, no one is. And if no one is special, we can all stop exhausting ourselves trying to prove we are. Which brings us to what actually creates an exceptional life. Lesson number 5. The value of saying no. This principle determines the quality of your entire life. For every yes, there must be a no. Choose your no's carefully. When you say yes to everything, you stand for nothing. Yes to every opportunity means no to focus. Yes to every invitation means no to solitude. Yes to everyone's needs means no to your own. Your yeses are only as valuable as your no's. Manson learned this the hard way. Saying yes to every business opportunity meant being mediocre at 20 things instead of excellent at one. Saying yes to every social invitation meant having many acquaintances, but no deep friendships. We're taught that more is better. More experiences, more friends, more options. But this is consumer culture talking. In reality, depth beats breadth. One meaningful relationship beats 50 surface ones. Mastery of one skill beats dabbling in dozens. Every choice is a trade-off. Choosing a partner means not choosing others. Choosing a career means not pursuing alternatives. Choosing where to live means not living elsewhere, and that's good. Limitation creates meaning. Imagine having every option always available, never committing to anyone, anything, anywhere. It sounds like freedom, but it's actually prison. Without limitation, nothing has weight. Without sacrifice, nothing has value. But here's what we miss. FOMO, fear of missing out, makes us say yes to everything. But JOMO, joy of missing out, is the secret. When you deeply commit to something, you joyfully miss everything else because you're fulfilled by your choice. The person deeply in love doesn't feel they're missing out on other partners. The artist absorbed in their craft doesn't envy other careers. The parent present with their child, it doesn't wish they were at the party. Deep yes creates easy no. Boundaries aren't restrictions, they're definitions. They define what you value, who you are, what you'll accept. Without boundaries, you're formless. With boundaries, you have shape, identity, power. Start saying no to good opportunities so you can say yes to great ones. No to toxic people, so yes to nourishing ones. No to distractions, so yes to focus. Your life is shaped more by what you reject than what you accept. Which brings us to the hard truth about responsibility. Lesson number 6. You're responsible for everything. This principle is tough to swallow, but transformative once digested. You're not responsible for what happens to you, but you're responsible for how you respond to everything that happens to you. You didn't choose your genetics, your parents, your trauma, your circumstances, but you're choosing right now what to do with them. Fault and responsibility are different. Many things aren't your fault, but are still your responsibility. Someone cheats on you, not your fault, but your response is your responsibility. You lose your job, maybe not your fault, but what you do next is your responsibility. You have depression, not your fault, but seeking help is your responsibility. Manson shares the story of a man who has a baby left on his doorstep. Not his fault, not his choice, but now his responsibility. That's life. Things you didn't choose become yours to handle. We love playing victim because it feels good temporarily. It's not my fault feels like relief, but it's also giving away your power. If it's not your responsibility, you can't change it. If it's someone else's fault, you're helpless. The victim mentality is seductive. You get sympathy, avoid hard choices, and feel morally superior. But you also stay stuck, because if you're not responsible, you're not capable. The two go together. But here's the superpower hidden in responsibility. When you take responsibility for everything in your life, you gain power over everything in your life, not control. You can't control what happens, but power. You can always control your response. The Holocaust survivors who found meaning in suffering took responsibility for their response. The disabled athletes who broke records took responsibility. The abuse survivors who help others heal took responsibility. Not for what happened, but for what happens next. This isn't victim blaming. Terrible things happen to innocent people, but after the terrible thing, you have a choice. Let it define you, or let your response define you. Every moment you're choosing your attitude, your action, your interpretation. Most people choose unconsciously, then claim they had no choice. But you're always choosing, whether you admit it or not. Take radical responsibility, not for the rain, but for whether you dance in it or complain about it. Not for the cards you're dealt, but for how you play them. This isn't burden, it's freedom. Which brings us to the ultimate perspective shift. Lesson number 7. Death is the compass. This final principle puts everything in perspective. Death is the only thing that gives life meaning, and remembering it clarifies what's worth your f***s. Everyone dies. You, everyone you love, everyone you hate, everyone you'll ever meet. Dead. In 100 years, virtually no one alive today will exist. In 1,000 years, no one will remember you existed. This isn't depressing, it's clarifying. Manson calls this the subtle art of not giving a using death to determine what matters. That argument with your partner? You're both dying. That embarrassing moment? Everyone who saw it is dying. That grudge you're holding? You're wasting your limited heartbeats. We avoid thinking about death because it's uncomfortable, but avoiding death thoughts makes us give a about stupid things. The person who forgets they're dying cares about Instagram likes. The person who remembers focuses on what matters. Ernest Becker called it the denial of death. The root of all human behavior is avoiding awareness of mortality. We distract ourselves with achievements, drama, consumption. Anything to avoid the truth. This ends. But when you accept death, everything shifts. The small stuff becomes irrelevant. The petty concerns evaporate. What remains? Love, growth, contribution, experience. the things that matter even though, especially because they're temporary. Here's the paradox. The more you avoid death, the less you live. Fear of death creates fear of life. You don't take risks because you might fail. Don't love fully because you might lose. Don't try because you might look foolish. Death anxiety creates life avoidance. But when you accept death, you're free to live. What's the worst that could happen? You die? That was always going to happen. Once you accept the worst case, everything else becomes workable. Memento mori. Remember you must die. Not to be morbid, but to be present. This moment is one of a finite number. This day won't repeat. These people won't always exist. Remembering death makes you show up fully. Your death is the final boundary, the ultimate limitation that gives everything meaning. Without death, nothing would matter because you'd have infinite time. With death, everything matters because time is scarce. Let me simplify this into something you can use immediately. Life is suffering. Problems never end. You're not special, and you're going to die. Sounds harsh? It's liberation. Because once you accept these truths, you stop wasting energy fighting reality and start using it to build something meaningful. Here's what to do today. Write down everything you're currently giving a about. Your list is probably long. Now cross off everything that won't matter on your deathbed. What's left? Those are your real values. Give your there. Stop trying to feel good all the time. Choose your struggles wisely. Accept problems as the price of being alive. Take responsibility even when it's not your fault. And remember death to stay focused on what matters. Because here's what Manson taught me. The secret to life isn't caring more. It's caring less, but about the right things. You have limited to give. Don't waste them on the trivial many. Save them for the vital few. Remember, you can't care about everything? Choose wisely. Give your to what matters. If you found this helpful and want to dive even deeper, grab your copy below. For more book summaries packed with actionable takeaways, without the fluff, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.